Rachel Wiest. I'm with Triangle MLS, and I'm here with Stacy Enfinson. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, Rachel.
And we're going to talk about August.
We are.
We're going to take a look at how the market is doing. So let's start with sales and pendings. How did they do in August?
Well, pending sales were up 1%, and
Okay.
each month this year, with the exception of February, the percentage change has been 1 or 2%.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we were talking about the fourth quarter of last year. We said that the percentage changes, which were double digit all of last year and got everybody excited, we said eventually it's going to go back to job growth. So job growth has been in that low single digits, and so that's what we're seeing in pending sales.
That seemed to impact the closed sales as
Yeah,
well.
closed sales were flat. You see the numbers up there, 2444 during August of this year and 2440 versus that, so really just a +4 on that, so pretty flat market in terms of pending and closed sales.
Interesting. This also kind of fits with the seasonality. We
Yes.
tend to see things slow down a little in the fall.
Yep.
So, okay, how about the number of new listings? How are the inventory levels doing?
Well, new homes are still doing their job. They're up 22%, so it's a big increase.
Oh.
But resale, which we were pretty bullish on in
Yes.
terms of adding inventory, they backslid last month. Only
Oh.
up they decreased 5%. So we'll show you a graph later on as to where those potential sellers are. But we were hoping not to see any decrease in resale inventory, but we did see it August versus August of last year.
So how about new listings on the market?
Well, if you're not getting any participation from the resale market, it's kind of a challenge to grow the overall inventory, and houses during the month were down 5%. Now, part of that is seasonal because August people really aren't thinking about putting their house on the market, but
Sure.
being down 5% when there's still a demand for housing is not what we were looking to see.
Right, absolutely. All right. So with the with inventory down, what's happening with expireds and withdrawals?
Well, fortunately, they're going down as well. You don't
Okay.
want to see any increase in those because those are failed transactions. Sellers really want to sell their house if they're going to put the house on the market. So expireds were down 12% and withdrawals were down 6%. Expireds is probably a more favorable metric to be down that much, so that's a good sign for the market.
Okay, okay. So that's a little bit of good news.
Uh-huh.
All right. How has this impacted pricing?
Well, the overall average price was up 2% and the average
Oh.
resale price increased 3%. So once again, those percentage increases have been steady throughout the year.
Okay. What else did you notice in terms of what house prices are doing?
Well, the graph that's up on the screen now, what I looked at were resales during the first 8 months of this year, and I compared the sales price of this year versus their prior sales price. So the good news in this graph is for the past 3 years, people that have resold during this year on average sold for more than they paid for. That's good news. The bad news is those that you see in the negative area, which is 2006, 2007, and 2008. They are still, for lack of a better term, underwater compared to what they paid for it. And that's we've got 3 years of potential sellers trapped in the market. So we mentioned the resale inventory being down. That's where our resale inventory is located, in sellers that purchased during those years.
That makes perfect sense. All right. So how about days on market?
As the market keeps going down, it was 66 for August of this year, and that's probably, as we talked about last month, it may go down a day or two, but I'm not sure that we're going to see it below 60, so I think we're probably at the bottom in terms of days on the market, but that's still pretty darn good.
Well,
It's 2 months.
It just takes that long to turn a mortgage around,
Yep,
frankly,
yep.
and get everything done. All right. So I think you have a special graph this month you want to talk about.
A graph of the month. We want to see where the price changing was going on in terms
Okay.
of geography. So the graph that you see up now shows Wake County and it shows the zip codes, and the darker color is where the most amount of price dropping is going, and you can infer that that is where the market is most challenged, and that is on the periphery. So we talked about in the past about the demand being closer into Raleigh and Cary and Marshall and Apex, and how the houses on the periphery in terms of East Wake and Northeast Wake and North Wake and South Wake were having a bit of a struggle because people want to live closer to town. And so what you see here is the amount of price dropping that's going on in those areas kind of matches up with that theory. So if you've got a listing out there, make your sellers aware. I mean, it's good to see that people are dropping price, but it's not good because that means that there's not enough buyers out there.
Right, right. And of course you have to wonder if the trouble with transportation and higher gas prices aren't feeding into this to some extent.
Absolutely.
Paragon's coming. Are you
It's
ready?
coming. It's here.
Yes.
So if you've taken the training, take it again. The biggest thing is to have 2 computers up or 2 monitors up and run those things simultaneously. So whether you're using Tempo or whether you're using Fusion, now is the time to do it. I think that everybody will be best served if they don't wait until October 27th to turn the switch. It would be my hope, it's my personal goal to be using Paragon completely 2 weeks prior to that. So
excellent.
You got to put in the work, though. It's not going to come to you.
That's an excellent goal. And there are lots of ways to learn how to use Paragon. If you don't want to just go in and muck around and try and figure it out, you can come in for training, just register for a class. But there's also online training. So if your time is tight and you just don't really have time to come in for a 3-hour class, then log into Paragon, go to help, and there are webinars, there are videotapes, there are quick start guides, there are frequently asked questions, and there's also the Paragon Academy, which is basically the whole introductory class, which you just work through at your own pace, and there are some little quizzes in there, so it'll give you an idea of whether or not you're grasping the material.
Right.
So there are lots of ways to learn how to use Paragon, and everybody has a different learning style, so you need to choose the one that works for you. But get started now. You don't want to get left behind, and you want to be moving along as quickly as possible. Oh, the other thing is, if you're having trouble remembering or figuring out how to move your customized searches, grids, etc., reports over, you can come in on the afternoons on Fridays, and somebody from the TMLS staff will help you between 1 and 3. This is through the month of September. We're going to look into whether or not we should continue this in October. It'll be based on how many of you come in. But if you're having trouble figuring out how to save those things so that you can recreate them in Paragon, because of course that's what people want to be able to do, then come on in.
So the question you should ask me now is, what's been my experience with it? Because I've been working on it for about 2 weeks now. And the search thing is key, because I view this like cleaning out your closet. We've been on Tempo and Fusion for 6 years.
Yes.
And we have I had saved searches that I had no idea what they were. I hadn't used them in such a long time. So the act of looking at those searches and saying, do I need to move it over to Paragon, is really helps you cleanse things out, makes you more efficient. It helps you learn the fields. So I strongly encourage, if you don't have a 2-monitor system, get a 2-monitor system, because you really have to have one on one screen and one on the other one, because if you're tabbing back and forth, it's really hard. But you will see, and then you'll see what you can do in this versus what you can do in Tempo and Fusion.
So remember, Paragon works on an iPad or a tablet, so you could use that as one of your screens.
Yep, absolutely.
And while it's not quite as easy to maneuver around on your tablet, it still would work in terms of comparing things.
Yep.
So, excellent. And I've heard that from others as well, that when they went back and started looking at some of the old stuff they had kind of stuck in the attic, they realized they didn't really need it anymore. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next month.